No, we are on
We
the.
don't.
Okay, so asking about an agenda, which is a very legitimate question to ask.
Not in this meeting, it's not.
Not here, and not today. All right, so
Definition of madness.
I want to talk about the most important thing in life, i.e. me.
Serialization.
No, me. You want to talk about? I want to talk about myself.
I want to talk about the issue that got filed this morning that I got obsessed with. Well, not obsessed, I just intrigued.
Yeah, I imagine too. I saw it. Louis said it's a good thing that we ask ourselves those questions. It's good to ask ourselves questions, for as long as they don't have anything to do with Java generics. Yeah, right. So that's one thing we certainly can look into. That's cool. And then let's do that.
You want to talk about your clustered?
And then I want to talk about the clustered stuff. And there are fundamental things that like decisions that I would like to see made.
Yep, it's annoying that Ablash is on vacation.
And then, well, then he can everything we say for granted. He can take.
We're going to pass down our. We're going to engrave it on stone tablets.
Right. We're going to pass down our madness. The other thing that we may want to talk about is this issue that Aurélien ran into and how we may want to address that. And so Louis gets also something to say. He can introduce that. Here you go, on your plate.
You want me to introduce that issue?
Sure thing. Don't you own all of that now?
It's while writing tests for...
No, not now. Sorry, I didn't mean now.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we can start with that. So what are we starting with? Chris has one, Louis has one, and I have one.
Yep.
Mine is a. We should finish with mine because mine can take the entire.
Because that means if we take up enough time with mine and Louis, we can push yours out to next week.
That too. My stuff is actually ready. It's all there.
Okay. Why don't we start with the serializer? Because that's a pretty specific one.
All right. Cool.
Okay.
Get it started.
So, Ehcache, I'm now reliably informed it's Ehcache who is an employee. I did not realize because I can't identify people's usernames that quickly. Filed an issue in GitHub. I'm paraphrasing a bit. It'd be nice to have a type parameter, as in a concrete class thing, in the read method of the serializer. Something like public t read by buffer serialized form class type. Presumably it's class t type. To which, and I was like, that's cryptic. I wonder why that is. And then I really, maybe I should share my screen so I can actually show the issue. Would that be a good idea, do we think?
I would love
to
do that.
Desktop 2, start screen share. So which Aurélien replied, blah, blah, more context, blah, blah, blah. If you tell the serializer what type it's going to be serializing, then it can help the custom serialization. So what type it's going to be deserializing, rather. So cryo, for example, if you tell it this is the type, it basically doesn't need to. My understanding of cryo from cryo is if you tell it write this, it can either write it in one of two ways. You can either write it and embed in the data that it writes what the type is, so that when it comes to read it, it doesn't need to be told what the type is. It knows. Or you can tell it this is the type it's going to be. It's effectively allowing you to read the header, effectively, from the serialized data. You only need to record the data. You don't need to tell it anything about what the data is, how it's structured, or anything, because that can all be inferred at deserialization when you tell it the class type. And my first reaction to this is, well, that sounds great, except I don't know what it is. Because if it's a cache of string, right, I'm right in thinking, right, if it's a cache from int to char sequence, say, I don't know what you've put in there. I don't know if you've put byte char buffers or strings or string buffers or string builders or what. And so therefore I can't know when I go to read. All I know is that it's some concrete type that's a subclass of X, where X is the value type or the key type, depending on what I'm deserializing, of this cache. The only thing I know is the type of the cache, but that's not necessarily the same as the concrete type of everything stored in it. Is that right?
Yeah.
So basically, my answer is, well, my first answer is no, you can't have this because I don't know what to pass to that. And my second answer is, well, maybe you can have this, but then I have to record the class type somewhere. How am I supposed to do that?
Right. And the thing is, you don't need that because if you're in this class
you
of things,
could
well,
wrap
one,
it.
you care, and two, you do know. Just pass in a serializer that knows and tell
Yes.
the serializer.
And then basically it says, I'm a serializer, and I'm a serializer that when you serialize is going to fail if it's not the concrete class I expect, and on deserialization, it's going to explicitly pass the concrete in. So my answer to this is no.
Yep.
But I just wanted to validate before I come in and stomp about.
No, I think it makes sense what you're saying. And indeed, I don't want us for any reason to start recording the class.
Oh no, me neither. Sorry, so much stuff that we need to know. I don't want to know more than what I need to know. All right. Louis really looks amazed at you typing away, but I think that's boring.
Yeah.
Or Louis is asleep.
No.
It was the latter.
The cadence of my typing is why am I still presenting?
Lulling, yeah, mesmerizing.
Can you?
How do I stop? I can't stop.
No, we all want to look at you. No, I just did.
Only Alex can.
Stupid Safari. Use a proper browser.
All right, cool, awesome.
Louis' turn.
Louis' turn.
Okay, so there it's related to issue
No, don't do that.
413, which is about
Type it.
testing of
Share-
right behind.
Yeah, but that's not important. Share your IDE and show where it fails in code.
Oh,
We
okay.
We want to elevate this straight to the type system concerns.
Okay,
I don't want
let's
to
do that then.
spend so much time on the hows and the whys.
Let me share ID. Up there. So, the type system allows you to do a number of things, and one of them is when you define a right behind
Oh,
configuration.
sorry, I need to make you the presenter.
Oh, yeah.
Present to everyone. Here we go.
So that's my right behind config builder. The way I use it here is by passing it at the cache level, but the type system allows me to do that. Oh crap, my bad, I'm in the wrong place. Alright.
Yeah.
Oh crap, we're on the create cache where we pass the config.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Me being bad. I can do it here. Hup. There.
All right. So, Chris, this is when you want to start paying attention.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
just
sorry,
finishing.
My bad. That's why it's not working.
Right. So, effectively, what goes on there is, let me try to, because Chris has no idea what you just said.
I was half
So-
concentrating.
So what you can have is use a service. So service configuration can be used to configure
Services?
at services, but from the cache level or from the cache manager level,
Right.
depending on the service. And here, in the context of the cache builder, what happened is that, in the context of write behind, what happened is that the write behind configuration was passed at the cache manager level, not at the cache level.
Right.
And what this does currently is it silently ignores it.
Again, I really don't think that is the proper wording, but it doesn't do what people believe it's going to be doing.
It doesn't apply that configuration anywhere.
Anywhere. Well, again, the semantic of that configuration, because from the service provider and so forth's perspective, it does everything that it's supposed to do with it. It finds the service that matches that. If it can't find it, that throws an exception. You then register that service to be started when stuff gets started, and then that service gets started. So whatever that service
and the service gets the config, but the service bluntly ignores it because it's not expecting one at that moment, so it's dropped on the floor.
Actually, yeah, that's a good one. Because we could do something about it actually already very easily.
Yeah, potentially. But so
which is, oh, you're passing me this, and this very obviously is a cache. Oh, I think somebody's gonna ring at my door. That's annoying. Yeah, so that's something you could do. But long story short, that's about the runtime. So one question that arose from there is that do we want to do anything smart about that at the type system level? And do we want to say that maybe certain things only apply to a given thing? And do we want to consider those two given things, i.e. the cache manager or the cache, or not? Do we only want to consider one? Because there are definitely stuff that can be applied to both, and so forth.
Yep. And so do we want to have more specific stuff than a service config in the using method? Do we want something like cache manager service config, cache service config, that kind of stuff? And so that's clearly what the problem highlighted. The other thing is that, and we've discussed, and that's probably going to change, is that the getting started example ends up using this generic add method. And that's also something which is probably not what we want to do.
Yeah, but that's at the builder level, so that's totally different consideration in my books.
Maybe. Clearly, yeah, that's just. But it's one way of helping the user understand better. But it doesn't resolve the basic question: do we want to leverage the type system to
Yeah, because another thought I had, I added, and that will lead neatly into the most important problem on Earth, in mind. Because I think I added those using methods and whatnot, right? Mm-hmm. And those so what I said earlier is that those things are only there, they're extension points. This is why they're there. And maybe it was a bad idea to expose those extension points that bluntly onto the first level of user-facing API. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, but again, that's what I use in crap, what's it called again? In the in the Terracotta module, because of certain things that we can then discuss too, but there are others. So there are a bunch of questions here. So since Louis and I already discussed that quite a bit, what's your take, Chris?
I don't think it's blunt. Personally, I think to your second point, I don't feel that they're blunt extension points. I think as long as it's not I like having the usings there. I do think that there's some argument for differentiating, but
And how would you differentiate then? Because we can say that, for instance, do we introduce a cache level service config and a cache manager service level config?
I don't want to. It feels I don't want to, but
no, it feels wrong, right? It feels synthetic.
Services are services, and they shouldn't care about where they're scoped or. You know what I mean?
Yeah, actually, slowly, I really think that maybe I like this whole idea of, oh, you're starting me with a config that is supposed to be applied, and that's only your service that knows. And I really mean the implementation of your service, not necessarily the abstract service, right? That knows, oh, you're providing me with a cache level config as you start me? That seems wrong. Something's fishy here. Though actually, can that happen? That can actually happen, I think, but probably because of a bug in the code right now that only nobody has ever seen. But anyways,
we need more people in this. I need more opinions. I need more opinions.
What do you mean you need more opinions?
I need more people.
Oh, okay.
I don't personally need more opinions.
I can't remember.
So why would you? Yours is perfect.
Exactly. I don't need more than one. But I want to hear. Particularly, I feel the thing I worry about with this is I fear that we are missing the insight of somebody who's fresh to this, who is just looking at it as a user. Because what we're doing,
but
really,
this is what I meant with the blunt things.
Well, this is the thing. You say it's blunt because you know that that's what it's doing, and that you're exposing. This is not a leaking API. This is like a massive sewer pipe. You've explicitly made this decision, right? It's not that it's leaking. It's that I want you to have this fire hose here. It's great. Drink from it. And so what we find ourselves doing is swinging between two extremes, going, yeah, the fire hose is great, and holy crap, this is a fire hose. I don't want to hurt my users. And what we haven't had is a user saying, I don't like the fire hose, or I do like the fire hose, or the fire hose is great. Do you know what I mean? Well, like, we seem to swing wildly from one to the other, and I want to hear somebody.
Here you go. So, okay, so that's interesting. Let's talk about something that's slightly more interesting.
Your problem.
My problem.
Yeah.
And you'll see why I'm doing this now, because I'm the most important thing. How do I make this window slightly smaller? Because I don't want to share it. I don't want to go to let me go to present. Oh, whatever.
And you can probably want me to stop presenting to everyone.
Nope. I want people to look at your screen a little longer. Yeah, we currently have 0 viewers.
Damn you, apathetic Ehcache users. I'm going to intentionally pick the worst API possible now.
All right, so I click here and I say present to everyone, and I go share and I say share screen 1. Here we go. So that is something, right? All right. So I wrote a test somewhere. I have no idea where. A test that fails, obviously.
I did actually look at this stuff, by the way.
Did you?
Yep. It's in my notes. It says I looked at it.
Done. Been there, done that. All right. So talking from a user perspective, right? So what I did is I'm like, okay, so how do I go from cluster to unclustered, right?
From unclustered to clustered.
Right.
No, from clustered to unclustered.
Well, actually, yeah, that's
what he said. Clustered to unclustered. That's obviously what he meant.
No, because that's what I'm going to do first, actually.
Okay.
Right.
This is like the equivalent. This is the logical equivalent of a backronym, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shit, I didn't mean to say that, but now I've got to act like I did. Right. Sorry.
So that is the way you build your cache manager here,
yep.
Right? So you're all happy, and you go and you create a test using the base configuration thing, right? I didn't go the the builder ways here yet, but we're gonna get to that. So now, if you wanna go clustered, what you need is a TC config. You wanna pass that in to your to your thing here, and
Right.
oh magic, right? Since you only did that, so see that's an example of the width thing. I extract this, and you get a persistent cache manager out of that, right? So
Cool.
that gives me access to those methods further down the path, like destroying
Yeah.
caches, right?
Right.
So that's cool. So still my foo cache here is unclustered, right? Now let's say I want to make that clustered. That's what this line is here about. It's exactly the same. I only changed this line. What I did is instead of passing in a base cache configuration, I'll pass in a terracotta base cache configuration, right? Obviously, this tells you I want to be clustered, right? So what does all the rest mean? Well, that still means exactly the same as it used to. And that needs to be passed in here because we need to know how to type those things, right? So even though this is a server recorded thing, we do something with it on the client side with it. Then there is all this stuff that's still like on the server side, and it can be whatever it was here for as long as it's portable. That's probably not the word I should have used, but that's what I decided to use. So if you use anything here that's one of our types, most probably will be able to honor it in a clustered environment. If you pass in one of your types in there,
what's wrong with? Okay, I don't want to get into that because it's not relevant to the type system. But
and what's wrong with what?
Well, there's no reason why expiry can't be non-user defined. It just gets run on disk machines.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Although there's an interesting question: is it illegal to have different clients with different inline expiry passes? I think it is, but I'm weird. So.
Yeah. Anyways, good question, but not
relevant. That's why I said. That's why I didn't want to ask it.
So then here, the class loader that we use to load all those types, and the resources, right? So now, if that's all what I need to do, what does it mean for bar? What's the size of my clustered bar, right? So that's a good question. Is this one way of going about it? To say, all right, I want to set a default cache, like at the TC config, I decided all the caches that don't exist and need to be created, we'll just use that. Sure, why not? I don't like it.
No, I don't like it.
It works. What I would like this thing to mean personally is more, my TC server, so that I'm connecting to, i.e. this URL here, is your URI, right?
Knows about the cache, and so I'm expecting
it's the cache manager, right?
Right.
So maybe that cache manager has a size. Maybe it was defined. I think this.
Oh, the cache manager. Okay.
Yeah, and then what you get is whatever this. The size is available will be used again, like kind of the ARC stuff.
Oh, okay. Because in my mind, what you're doing here, without specifying anything, I would read it as this is a clustered cache
that already exists.
And use whatever has been defined.
Oh, that certainly means that too.
But if it doesn't exist,
then
I didn't specify enough, and kaboom.
Yeah, that's another way of going about that. That's true. Okay, so now you then need to give me more information. So what I did here is change this. I added another constructor here that adds more to the server side, right? So maybe
you're jumping from one to the other, and it's hard to follow.
Because it takes time to refresh? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't know. You jump back and forth 2 times, and it's weird.
Okay, so I'm not moving anymore.
Okay.
That was my bad. I realized it was a bad idea as I did it. But so anyways, so what I did is I overloaded this thing to say that what you can do is pass what I call the base clustered cache shared configuration. It's a very bad name, but the idea is to say this is the clustered.
Usual for names.
Naming is easy. We'll do that last.
This is the server side instance of the configuration. Effectively, we build one out of the stuff that was passed in here plus some defaults. Let's not get there quite yet. But still, I passed this in here. So what I did, the only thing I did is I added this line, right? And obviously closed the paren here, right?
And but you also added
Here?
memory size,
All right.
transactional
So
information.
all those things are made, and now what I do, well, right, but all these could have defaults. I went to the full-blown
Okay, yeah,
thing.
okay.
And again, don't forget that's these are the types, so they don't really use defaults, like implicit ones. It's we did stuff where the like things come. Oh, is it to the builder? I don't remember. Anyways, whatever. Don't forget that there is a builder in between all of that still, right? So now I build this config that represents the client side.
That thing inside.
What?
That thing inside represents the.
No. That type, so that closes here. So this one, let me start here. That represents the server side.
Yep.
That is being passed to the client side, and
Right.
here is the rest of the client side.
Yes. Cool.
Okay. So that's the way I did that.
What does create cache do?
That creates the cache in this case, right?
Okay.
That is very explicit. You
What if
can't
it
get
already
any more
exists?
explicit than that. It's then that throws.
Cool.
You can use then this variance. Which one was it? Here, this one.
Oh, so you actually want to have. Okay, right, yeah.
Here you're specifying all that stuff, right?
This is the whole thing that we talked about last time, which is this whole idea of embedding which lifecycle transitions you want to have happen by controlling that by whether or not you include configuration to support that transition.
Right.
If you don't specify config, if you don't specify the config required to transition the clustered side of a cache from non-existent to existent, then we obviously can't do the transition. So obviously you didn't want to do the transition.
Right.
Which is fine as long as you never want to have an optional.
No, there is more
Wow.
stuff you can do.
Yeah, there is more
This-
stuff you can do, but you have to include that in the names of the methods instead, or some other way.
Well, either that, or you can delegate to the TC config itself.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
can be
that's fine.
templating with it for 107. There's a bunch of things you can do.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, so that is the sort of the thinking around the natural way of doing this, right?
I like this. Yes.
Right. So that's all neat and good, and obviously it's awesome. I like that you like it. Thank you. So far.
No promises.
So that's again the same thing here. That is the most simple thing that you can do to get all the defaults from the server.
Right.
Right? So that's simple. That's the terracotta. It's a classic cache. Here's what I expect to be on the server. That you need to provide. Arguably, you don't need to. Yes. Well, it could be local. You don't need to include that type in here. I'm willing to buy that only passing those things in. Effectively, I need those class instances, right? That's what I need, so that I can validate how we want to do it.
Always need to pass those.
Yeah, but I said
accessing existing cache.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah.
I see what you're
Yeah. Oh, you were replying to Louis now. Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, what I was trying to say is that we could do it like so. Wait, that's bad. We could do it like so. It means the same thing. What I need is those two class instances. Now it bitches because the thing's not there. I decided to not do it that way. Maybe not putting too much thinking. That's not the point I want to make. So yeah.
What's then the difference between simple and bar?
Go back up to bar because I can't remember what bar looked like.
And bar? Oh, right. That's the case where I don't know. This is the one that lets you naturally evolve from the unclustered one.
That's the one where he's saying you have a default. It's like the template stuff.
Right? So,
so
that stuff here is because that's the evolution path, right? How bar was created on the server, I don't really know. Maybe it was created by hand. Maybe there is this pool thing, or whatever concept you want to have.
No, but okay. What happens if my eviction prioritizer is not the same as what bar has on the server?
That you pass in there explodes.
Okay,
this is what you don't see here, but if you go in
here,
what happens in here, this sets the thing and the thing above,
yeah.
But all those things here are normally also in this guy here, and this is why I say maybe I should override all the getters and validate things, but I wasn't sure about what the life cycle is of the cache.
I'm just not convinced that the scale continuum is this important. That it
Well,
has to be that literally it's
especially-
like 0 mods. and it
Well,
works.
especially that normally nobody does that stuff anyways. People will use builders. They will not call those things. So that's what I'm saying. This could totally go away. I think that really makes sense.
Yes, I think you're right.
Secret it all.
Have the type system
And
if these
that's the
constructors even
simplest-
exist.
Sorry?
Have the type system and these constructors, if they exist, represent reality.
Mhm.
Don't simplify it at all. Make it what it is. If
Yep.
you want it, then the builders can be the things that provide candy and sugar.
Right. So you're arguing for deprecating this. Well, for removing this.
Yeah.
Right? Up. We go back here. So that is... Oh.
Sorry, you're going too fast. What did you...
You
Oh,
deleted
yeah.
the
No,
build annex.
I can't deprecate it because that's fine.
So that's... Which one was that? I didn't have a chance to even read what it was before you...
Oh, no, sorry. I didn't. I could. Oh, could I? Oh,
What?
fuck. Sorry. You'll see in a second.
Okay. I have to
misread.
read
Yeah, I
faster.
misread too. All right. We want to get rid of the one that lets you migrate from this to that in order to say clustered.
Yeah,
We want you to migrate from this to this. I.e., give me everything.
Well, yeah, except that new base clustered shared thinger could conceivably be absent, but it should be explicit at this level, not at the builders, but at this level where you're dealing with constructors and stuff.
no,
it should be
you want it to be
explicit
present because
absence.
you want it to be present because, as you've said, this level should represent reality.
Right,
And
right,
one
right,
thing,
right.
Reality is, but
No,
Alex
no.
is using presence for absence.
No, one thing we've said is we want a split at the type system between what's the server-side config and what's the client config.
Yeah.
If you look here, line 90 to 99 is server-side, and 100 to 104 is client-side.
Right.
And so you want, forget about the naming.
Mhm.
You want an A
Yes.
that represents the full configuration of that local cache, and that A contains the local bits, and a B which happens to be the clustered bit.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, if we were using 1A, which we're not, but if we were, I would say that the constructor should be terracotta base cache configuration string object. You can obviously see how you could put sugar on this and have two constructors, but you'd have one constructor where it was optional shared configuration and then bunch of non-optional local config.
Right.
If the optional's there, it implies you want this created.
Right.
And if
But
the
that's
optional's
what I
not
do,
there, it
but I
implies
do,
you want
but I
access.
know.
I think as we've discussed, you want always the server side one, just because you want to be sure that we pass the same types. And so you'll always need the
No.
types. And
No.
the key and the value type.
You want types in both places. There are two things going on here. There's what type you want to create it with, and what types you want to access it with. I know that they have to be the same.
I'm losing you guys. God damn it. So we're agreeing that we don't want that one. Okay?
Yes.
That's out of the way. We're good. There is no mix and match here, right? So
Cool.
if you had this and you want to go clustered,
We'll strive to offer something equivalent at the builder level, but not at
no, I don't need to talk about the builders. This is
Yes.
irrelevant. To
I'm
this
just
context.
explaining.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, users. Oh man. So unclustered. That's the
Yes.
way. You want to go to clustered. You migrate it to this because there is
Yes.
nothing on your server, and you say you want everything created.
Yes.
So that one goes away. This is why I marked it deprecated. Good.
Yes.
So now there
delete
is
it.
this one.
Sample, then we don't have to look to go over every time.
Right. Okay. So that's good. Bye bye. Now, if the stuff exists on the server, that's the other thing we had. It's this guy here,
Yes.
right?
See,
So are you guys? Wait a sec, Chris. Are you guys arguing about this form versus this form?
Mhm.
Or what are you guys arguing?
so what I'm saying, I don't know what I'm not. This will sound stupid. I'm not entirely sure we are arguing about anything, but what I think should happen is if we're saying that there's no sugar here, this should just reflect reality, right? The base clustered cache shared configuration should take a string and an object. But so should the terracotta-based cache configuration constructor, because the two sets of classes are actually accomplishing different things. One is the class types to use when you construct it, and the other is a class type to validate with when you create it. The fact that you're handling them both at the same time is indicative of the fact that you're both creating and accessing in one step. But in order to have the whole thing...
No, but don't repeat yourself. One contains
you don't need to repeat yourself because
it's not repeating yourself. They mean different things.
No, they don't mean
But it can't be different.
No, you're right. They can't be different.
Okay, so
but it doesn't mean that they're not different things.
No, but they use for different things. But they mean this. They mean one and only thing. So
but we're not putting any sugar here. What you're describing is syntactic sugar. I'm saying that way. I don't have to.
No, wait.
No, you could. Wait a second. I'm really confused. Stop, Louis, because I really don't know whether we're talking about the same thing. I hear words being spoken, but I really don't know what I mean.
Okay.
Are you arguing for this, Chris?
No, not in that one.
What is that one? That doesn't work. I'm not.
Not in the accessing existing cluster cache.
Creating one, so you're back up here. So we scrolled all the way down, but you're talking about this stuff.
So the creating one would have the types in both places. Bear with me just a second, Louis. Right? It would have string class, object class in the clustered shared and outside. Right? And the other one wouldn't have a clustered cache shared configuration. It would have null or empty or whatever.
Right. Actually, we would have this.
Sure. Well, you're sugaring it. Now, obviously,
did I say fuck?
You could obviously sugar this with by having a constructor that pulled things out and said, well, these must be the same, so I'm going to put one from the other. But if you're just describing the data you need,
man, it's hard to follow you.
Sorry. If you're just describing the data you need those two things twice. Yeah. Yes, they have to be the same to get sensible behavior, but you're using them in two different places. One of them is only going to get used when it's passed to the server to create it. The other one is going to be used regardless of whether you use the shared configuration at all to validate the connection to the thing you're connecting to.
Right, but that's right. But
I know it's really aggressively desugaring, but
no, right, because it's all enforced, right? Right, you got this KV, this is KV, and the other thing's KV. So they can only ever be the same.
But the important thing to me is that the accessing an existing one looks like that. You're not passing a shared at all, because all you're doing is establishing a connection to something.
So which one now? Are you back down here?
That one. Right? That one is right. The one at line 93 should look like that. And the one at line... When I read the one at line 74, I'm fine to see that. It's just in my head, I understand that there's kind of like an implicit string class, object class, repeated at the local level.
Right, because in my books, this is a composition, right? You declare those types at this level, for real, and this one will inherit them. The reason you need to pass those guys in here is because
there's nothing to inherit.
Well, because there's nothing to inherit from given Java generic.
Yeah,
right?
I don't think of a parent-child relationship there. That's the thing. I think of them as siblings.
It's not a parent-child. It's a composition. And I really mean a composition. I think, if I remember right. So this cannot exist with that. It's just that when we do this when bootstrapping stuff. The absence of the thing means go fetch whatever. I expect it to already be there and fold this thing in.
I guess phrasing it in your language, I don't think of them as a composition. I think of them as two disjoint types. You happen to have embedded one inside the other and have one reference in the other. But I really think of them as disjoint. Because then you can imagine if you factored your connection code in such a way that there was a routine that created the L2 side entity, right, the server side entity, it would take the clustered thing, the shared thing. And if there was a separate routine that established a connection to the entity, it would take the local thing. And you wouldn't have to touch the configs; they could be immutable if you duplicate the data. And you pass one to the other, make sure it's created, then pass, and so on. Does that make sense? My brain is probably
That doesn't make sense.
Okay.
So
Oh, well.
let me go to the runtime stuff. Maybe that helps explain my point of view.
But what's there is
So
fine. I think it's just my brain works in a weird way.
When you go to the runtime stuff, right? Because again, sorry, I won't let you go. I changed my mind. This thing cannot exist without this thing.
Which thing?
The Terracotta-based cache, the client-side configuration.
Once things are
Yep,
stamped,
so,
yes.
so that's why for me, line 95 and 96 need to be parameters of the base cluster shared config.
What is that config configuring?
It's a way of saying.
No, you want to know really what is configuring? Because we need to be entirely honest with ourselves here to not fool ourselves, right? Is making sure that those bounds are actually enforced.
So it's not a configuration. It's like a validation thing. It's a separate type to the type you used earlier. One type is a type that configures.
Well, yes and no.
The other type is a type you validated.
Yes and no, because we did say that what we'll do is we'll go match these against what's on the server, and if they're not the same,
so it's not. It's a distinct type at this point. Then you're conflating two things, right?
No, I view it as a way of expanding the logic that permeates through the whole API, which is that you always have to specify the key type and the value type. So when you do get cache, you need to specify them. Otherwise, you get an untyped cache.
Totally.
When you do configuration, that's the basic stuff you have to specify, the key type and the value type. When you do clustered configuration, let's apply the same. You've got to specify the key type and the value type. And I know what we really mean with clustered config in that context is, please give me whatever lives there, but I'm still telling you that if it's not string long or string, then sorry, not.
But it's a property of the client. It's the client saying, it's you saying, I want to create a client that is expecting string object, and it's going to retrieve the server entity using whatever coordinates, and validate that its client config, the string object, is validated is matches or is compatible with whatever's on the server side. That's why, to me, that string object is, in that sense, is a part of the client side's config, and not part of the server side's config. And but I don't know. I don't want to keep. In my head, this all makes sense, but I don't want to keep laboring it because it doesn't seem to in yours. So maybe I'm wrong. But to me, they are. When we get to the builders and when we get to sugaring this stuff, I totally understand that you would put shortcuts in because you never want to. You don't ever intentionally want to cause failure because they don't match.
I'm actually starting to see your point.
Honestly, I have no problem with either or personally. I think I like this better because it saves you like needing even looking at this stuff when you actually don't need to.
When you don't care about what exists on the cluster, that's actually the semantic correct way of declaring that.
All right, so are we settling that this is what we want?
This is what we want, yes. And then I believe on the other one, we want to repeat it.
No, that makes no sense. That I will not do. I mean, this is fighting. Conceptually, I'm fine with what you're saying, but really,
no, Alex.
Right.
Imagine what we're arguing about is a UML diagram that you eventually build Java code from, because neither Louis nor I are saying you're actually going to repeat those parameters.
Okay, good.
But what I might request that you do is you may find when you start to implement that you actually want to at some point draw them out and duplicate them later.
Oh, sure.
In order to pass them around.
Most probably right in here. This thing will pass it to the thing. Right now it stores as at null, but no, sorry, which one is it? Whichever one it was. So this takes the config. Right, so we're here. Right, see, I pass it in here. It's duplicated.
That's you're doing the duplication that I'm saying belongs in the.
Oh no! I totally understand. Cool.
Right.
Yeah. Only
My God.
I'm not adding those 2 lines. Is what I'm
13
saying.
minutes.
Right.
That's why I said in my head when I look at that.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to type it, but in my head when I look at that, I duplicate those lines because
Yeah.
they belong both places.
That I'm
We've
fine
got
with
13 minutes left, and we all agree.
Right. No,
It's
we're
a
not done.
miracle. Oh,
We're
God.
not done,
Stop.
and by far not, because that's actually only we're going to loop back into the previous thing. So, and then at runtime, just to finish the whole thing, that's one, but that leads into the actual stuff. So you get the cache runtime from your cache. It's a cache runtime configuration. I don't know that it possibly is clustered. So right now, the only way you get to that is by doing an instance off.
Unwrap.
So it's just a glorified instance off. I mean, I can.
Okay.
And Rob can let you do smart things, I find, with regards to the nestedness of things.
Yes, exactly.
But this is not the case here. So the way that you know whether a cache is clustered is by doing an instance off. And really, I'm not thrilled about that. So if it's an instance of a Terracotta cache runtime configuration, you can obviously cast it to that, and then from that you can get to the clustered stuff, the clustered representation. Where still, to get back to Chris's point, the runtime configuration gets key type, value type. Okay, that's fine too. Value type. This method very obviously sort of delegates to the service stuff, right? It's the same as doing CC. No, what is it? Service side config dot get
Alex,
value type, right?
You do realize that line 110 is illegal. This needs to be done under maintenance mode. There is no way you do that there.
You don't know that. That's not true, but I don't want to go into those details. But the fact that that may or may not be the case is not even necessarily relevant. Okay, I can fix this just to please you. What this method says is totally irrelevant. It's just I wanted to okay, maybe I should just have left this as an empty interface. I don't want to open that debate right now.
Okay.
Which, by the way, again, is what you said isn't necessarily true, but I'll think of examples. Anyways, so does that make sense? But again, we jump to something else, so that is done. Okay, so now into the fun stuff. So the way that I did all this, so there is one caveat with this, is how do you get to this runtime configuration?
Well, can't you?
All right, we're reverting gear, I can tell you, because Chris was doing something else. No, he's seeing the instance of, he's really seeing what I'm talking about, and very obviously he dislikes it too.
I was trying to find references to Bob in Blackadder, never mind. But I was half concentrating.
Yeah.
Why does it, you don't need to instance of? Can't you make sure that can't we have a clustered cache type, interface type, whose get runtime configuration returns the right thing? Because you've already specialized cache managers, right, to get to persistent or clustered cache managers. So they create caches can override the.
That's right. So you sort of.
All right. Specialize cache. We specialize.
Yeah, we don't specialize cache ever, and we're actually even reverting to getting back to like other factories and stuff that I coded, I removed. But it's fine. I'm not even against that. What is being created? You're slowly getting into the interesting stuff. So the way that this is all structured is that there is a Terracotta module where all the Terracotta and cluster stuff lives. Core has no idea about cluster. So question, do we want to move clustered up? Do we want to make clustered be a first-class citizen? I'm not necessarily against that. I think that then I would most probably want to expose a clustered cache manager indeed. But then what does that even buy you, right? All of a sudden you get your cache manager. When you retrieve a cache manager, then all of a sudden there are either two methods. Oh, maybe that was why I had this. No, that wasn't why I had this. Oh no, there can be overloaded. That's fine. So if you pass this in, this returns you a TC cache. Yeah, there is more stuff that we could do.
Wait, you just said we don't want to do that. So
Actually, I'm lying. We can do that. We can do that with the builder. That's cool.
no, but
If we could do that,
what?
TC Cache Magic Builder that returns a. I'm going to call it TC right now. Whatever you want to call it, class or whatever, I don't care. Cache Manager extends persistent Cache Manager. All the steps on there. Now, if you.
This is what I said just now, and you told me that you were getting away from doing that.
No. What I'm saying is the important stuff that I care about is keeping all the stuff isolated and not leaking into core. That's what I don't want. I don't think I want to do that. So you realize here on the left is all the
You need to be
modules.
specific on that, because
Oh, I'm pointing with my mouse pointer.
So you want to stop leaking the clustered stuff into core,
Right.
because they're using. But isn't I thought the signature of using and the way it was implemented allowed the thing that you're calling the using with, i.e. the URL in this case, well the terracotta whatever it's called thing you created, doesn't that get to control the type of what's returned?
Actually, you're right.
So that thing is going to sit inside terracotta, and that's the thing that allows you to go to clustered cache manager, which means you can have clustered caches, which means you can have clustered runtime cache configurations or whatever.
Why do we want clustered caches?
Because they're not just because they're extensions to caches. They do more. In this case, they have a different runtime config type.
We've found.
That doesn't break scale continuum.
Maybe somebody's gonna tell me that I'm again mixing stuff. But in the whole lifecycle discussion, we're in a managed world. A cache is a cache, nothing else. And the only thing you interact with is the window that cache represents. So if you want to touch the clustered config, I believe you go through the cache manager.
Even if it's the clustered runtime.
Forgetting the runtime.
Well, that's arguably on something like maintainable.
And exactly.
Now it doesn't have to be. It doesn't mean you have to have the maintainables. Well, actually, no. That causes problems with the lease. But
imagine that the maintenance. So you go to maintenance for a given cache, and when you get the maintainable for that cache, then you've got access to the runtime config of that cache. And potentially, if you just want to view the clustered config, then you've got something directly on the clustered cache manager that allows you to do that. I think a cache is a cache.
So you would still introduce a clustered cache manager, but
potentially, if the persistent doesn't do everything we need it to do.
So how does that work again? The width, the extend, and that returns the end of what will extend. Who wrote that crap?
You.
Oh.
I'm getting faster at blaming.
Yeah. I think we can do that.
No, but do we agree on what I just said about caches and their
Right. I think I agree with that too.
Side of
what's arguing for specializing the cache manager but not the cache?
Yeah,
So
exactly. Because the cache is just the view, is the window, nothing more.
So how do we do that? Then something along the lines of, so we get rid of all that. That goes away. That's cool. Now what we do is what? Cache manager dot get clustered config what?
Cache.
Alias?
Well, would it be the alias or would it be the?
I would
technically, you might want to pass the alias because potentially you can do this stuff without needing to have opened the cache.
Without opening the cache, correct.
Maybe you want both, but.
Well, again, can be discussed. But I think that's how you get to the clustered config indeed.
The server.
And the server side. And if you want to mutate it, then it's not through that. It's through going to maintenance for that cache.
Well, that is, again, not necessarily a requirement. I'm not sure why you're really focused on that much, but maybe I'm missing something. If there may be stuff that you don't need the maintenance lead in order to mutate them.
Yes.
So
But
why would you require people to go to?
And then what you? So you're actually changing. Okay, sure. We can see property by
I mean,
property
personally, I don't
when
have
we
this.
get
I
there.
don't actually have the same problem that Louis does about extending
So wait a
cache.
sec. What does it mean that when I get my cache runtime configuration, I got all those things and I can do all these. Then possibly there is this thing. Well, that's the next right. That's one with which I have many problems.
Yes, and you have this discussion as well that does this stuff, which is arguably not related to the cache, is part of the persistent thing.
Yeah, we really need to go into the.
Oh, I said that we need indeed a story for persistent, and we've kind of.
No. So what I meant is I would really want us to work on Arc and figure things out, because there is this moving thing that is very core and or certainly very impactful on stuff that we're designing now. And I feel like, I'm happily sticking my head in the sand. I'm like, oh, it'll come later, but I don't think that's the way to go. Okay, cool. So that's a good idea. So that's awesome. So I'm going to do that so we can keep everything clustered related still outside of everything here. But then back to the subject that we started off, it all still builds on that, right? See, that's my fire hose.
No, but that's a different fire hose. Because with is a mutation of the exact cache manager you're instantiating. The fire hose we have is using, which takes service configuration.
But isn't that?
That one is pretty much constrained.
All right, that one is indeed constrained. So we constrain it that way, which that makes sense. And that's the thing that in turn is going to start a Terracotta service. So yes, there is a relationship, but it doesn't need to be exposed to the user.
Yeah.
Right. So you know what? I'm actually seriously thinking that maybe the using and whatnot should be slightly hidden. But I guess I'll give it some more thoughts.
Well, we can look at where it's used in the code actually, which is not a lot.
Yeah, it goes back to
and
the point
then
I was
potentially hide it behind, like being package private and having some stupid accessor object.